how is like what are some of the interesting projects that you're seeing being developed in Africa, for example, to help with banking or trade? Um, is there anything that we should look out for?
Well, there are projects that's going, as pilots. It's not necessarily solid yet. It's all use cases being trialed, and I mean, you can't really say anything they're good or bad until a time pass by, because it's a proof of concept that we're
Yes,
looking for. Therefore, if there is no proof of concept, especially in technology, you can't really say this use case is good or bad or even mention it. Therefore, what I would say, there is a solid call within the central banks in Africa that they digitalize the the currency, and they digitalize the method of transacting and trading, and that's a good start, because that way the policy has to come solid, and it has to work for the general public rather than a few elite. And that way is important that the education must spread out on good education within the blockchain technology. And this should be taught within a primary school and schools, in to just to understand how the technology would affect and
definitely.
benefit their future, because it's important to understand that digitalization, it's a relief for the government, because then that bureaucracy is not a told, it's not something that's holding people from transacting and doing trade locally and internationally.
Very true. I think part of the problem is, yes, definitely we should be teaching these things to our kids in schools. But currently, there's like a big vacuum of information, even all the way up to decision makers in
Yeah.
many countries. Ministers don't understand the implication of these technologies or how they can be used to benefit society. Um, do you know if or where this technology is being used for um, financing banking? Is it sitting within the SWIFT system, or is it like a parallel system to what we have currently in terms of like the SWIFT payment system?
Well, mainly, I mean, the SWIFT system is definitely the backbone, because of the agreement that
Mhm.
countries have made. Because this is not a movement. SWIFT is not a movement. SWIFT has been organizing, transactions worldwide. Therefore, it has to be something similar or has the same laws, that it can be worked. That's why it's taking too long for the implementation of blockchain. It's such an easy thing, but it's complicated, because now it's the technical that's calling for change, but the non-technical, they're not understanding
Yeah,
fully that they could implement it by themselves. Therefore, until a IT person becomes an executive, until a person of technology become executive and part of the board, the things will go smoothly. But because IT is always seems to be a service, but not an,
mm,
I mean, it's not a necessary element. It's actually the first necessary element in this age is IT. Otherwise, you won't be able to expand beyond your borders. I mean, you could market your product, but it's only people that you know, your family and your friend would know about it, until you are able to spread it more, where you use technology and spread that, um, use case. Therefore, yes, I would say, it's about time that when COO take on the space within the board and be able to make decisions, that it will happen, unless we have to really show a great benefit into the non-technical, that they are going to make the right decisions, because they've been controlling the financials, they've been controlling the fields of trade for many years, and it's to change that, it takes time, it takes a lot of education and a lot of training.
Absolutely right. And I think there's so much technology coming out now
Yeah,
that has such rapid impact on society
yeah,
that there's not really that benefit of time to understand what's going on
yeah,
and then to make policies accordingly. I mean, if you even think about artificial
yeah.
intelligence or quantum mechanics, quantum computing, I
Well,
mean,
I
I'm sorry.
haven't spoke to you about that yet. We're just in the foundation, and the foundation of
Yeah,
artificial intelligence, and the foundation of quantum computing is blockchain. If we haven't started there, you won't be able to control AI, and you won't be able to control quantum computing. Therefore, those two technologies are incredibly fast, and they're incredibly like effective in terms of changes, as you say. But if the blockchain is the foundation of it, and the smart contract is what's controlling those applications, then we will be able to progress slowly, even though the technology is advancing, but the release of that will be gradually.
yeah. I think that's why I would love to have you back. So maybe we can have another session where we go into more depth and discuss how bring in AI, bring in quantum computing, and go a bit more in depth because this is really interesting and it's going to impact all of our lives,
Yeah.
and very very soon. Uh, um, just going back to the banking and blockchain, one of the reasons I was asking whether this is a technology that's currently being used within the SWIFT system or parallel to the SWIFT system is just because I'm also considering what's going on currently in geopolitics and, for example, the BRICS bloc, which is trying to get away from this regime where countries can be put into sanctions um, so completely and so quickly. So it'll be interesting to see what comes out of that. But I can imagine it'll be some solution based on some blockchain technology, no?
Well, the blockchain technology is what you're gonna use for it. I mean, it's whatever you're gonna use it for. Therefore, it can play two sides. It can be a means of control, and it can be a means of freedom. It's what you're gonna use it for. Therefore, geopolitics, that's something that we have no say on, we have no control over, by our opinion or our what do you call it, an analogy. But what's going to happen is going to happen. It's up to the individuals that make a decision, and they were both voted to make those decisions. Therefore, it's gonna carry on this way until we are able to find a peace within nations, and we don't have to. I mean, there is no nation above other nation except by good character. Therefore, our standards must has to be the standards of good character, and that's how you evaluate a nation, or evaluate a country, or evaluate an area.
True. One of the things I'm just thinking about, as you were mentioning the different use cases for blockchain, is, for example, because I'm here living in the UK, and I'm thinking things like, because we're constantly having problems with medical records, either they're inaccessible or they get lost too easily. It's hard to control them, but it's also hard to get them to the places where they need to be when they need to be. Um, Personally, I know when I go to, we have like our GPs, which is like the general practitioners, and then if we ever go to the hospital, then the notes that are taken for our medical notes in the hospital can take days to get to our GP, who's like our main point of contact. So something like blockchain technology is probably needed essentially in these areas, even also in like the voting system. Um, so there's a lot of places where it could be used, but then I think it's a matter of understanding the technology and also having the foresight to be able to put that kind of capital investment behind the change that needs to be driven by these things.
Well, I mean, it's in terms of the record. I don't know if you have checked. I am part of the Patientry Association, which is one of the first use case that was launched to do exactly what you said about the records keeping and facilitating the information, the correct information efficiently going through to your GP, to the ambulance, to the hospital, to
Mm-hmm.
and that's Patientry Association. That's exactly what's doing in the UAE, Middle East, and America, and part of Europe. And yes, and also not just that is part of it is that they have a coin that facilitates even the payment of, you come to a level where you use those coins to buy, for the poor people in a charity way. They are able to buy medication if they don't have money, because then they have points, they have the coin that they can use with the pharmacies that are part of the note. If all those things are happening, those things are, and it's all about the ecosystem. Therefore, what we need to learn when it comes to technology, okay, out of technology was something called as party. The party, I belong to this party, and this is the echo of this party, this is the policy of this party. But now,
Mm-hmm.
because we're in a technology era, we have to look at the ecosystems, the different ecosystems. Some ecosystems talk about health, some ecosystems talks about education, some other ecosystems talk about politics. Because that's one thing that a lot of people didn't speak about is the decentralized politics, which also going to take place, because if you don't have the decentralized politics, you won't have any decentralized finance or even decentralized education or any decentralized in this sake. Therefore, it's going to have to start on a decentralized politics, and that's what the politicians are afraid of.